Hey, it's Kate with the Thrive with Kate podcast, and I'm here with Lynn Beck and Yael Bernstein, who are both members of Club Hero, with me in Club Thrive. So where we start is your sacred ambition and looking at what drives you as a unique individual, like what is your own definition of success, just understanding that success is multidimensional, especially the more evolved and developed we become as individuals, that we have, not just finance or career, but we also have relationship and also our own svadhyaya, or relationship with self, right? Really evolving more into the subtle planes of being and becoming. And so what we're going to do today is really to start with your stories and why you're in Club Hero. And then we'll get a bit into like what's happening, being in the community and in the process of a mastermind group that's with a lot of women that are in like mid-career professional path. So Lynn, do you want to just start with like how you came into Club Hero and maybe some things that were not necessarily like pain points in your life, but things that weren't maybe as fulfilled and what that felt like?
Sure. I came into Club Hero back in 2023, and what I was looking for is to go to that next level. And specifically, it was to get a promotion in my work, because I felt like I was doing all the things, checking all the boxes, meeting with all the right people, and not going anywhere. And it was really tough because I was also had a young child at home, and then also trying to do the home life and then also the work life and balance it. And so my thought with Club Hero was, okay, let's take a structured approach and meet with other people who are on that same path and see how it works. And so now after 2 years, I feel like I have more space and time in what I'm working on, and I'm also more relaxed in my job, which is really amazing because it just makes it more fun too.
And you got the promotion.
And I did get the promotion, yes.
That was pretty fast, as I recall.
It was.
And then it was like, what's next?
That's right.
All right. And Yael, what about you? Like, what brought you into our world and Hero?
Gosh, our yoga studio started following you over 20 years ago with the detoxes. So I'd always seen your evolution, and I remember when you went from more yoga to the business aspect of things, and I'm curious about that. And in 2025, I just made a commitment, and I wanted to change, just up level and find more juiciness in life and bridge between personal and professional. And it's been great.
Most ambitious women are running on 1 to 2 strengths, while 3 blind spots are holding them back. That's why fragmented success feels exhausting. In 2 minutes, the Sacred Ambition Assessment shows you your elemental signature: space, earth, fire, air, water, so you can see exactly what's powering you and what's quietly capping you. Quick clarity, no fluff. Take the Sacred Ambition Assessment. I designed it. It's really fun. And you'll get your element, you'll get your edge, and then you can schedule with me a Sacred Ambition session. See you there. Go to clubthrive.global/ambition and do your Sacred Ambition Assessment. It only takes a few minutes, and your insights can last a lifetime. So it's interesting, right, that both of you had already been doing yoga and had already gone on a self-exploration path that yoga brings us on, where it's somatic, it's in our body, but it's also awareness, right? It's like different than in our body going to the gym. There's this level of self-inquiry that starts with the yogic path. And as you evolve in work-life balance, or both work and personal life and personal goals, how do we fit in terms of your experience of that?
I could go on that. I feel like the teachings, especially the way you framed Hero, the elements, working through the elements, and then I think just being more left brain I wasn't really in my body or knew feel things in my body, and working through the elements like water and earth, and really that just accelerated my life in so many ways, of just having a broader experience, a richer experience that there's no other teachings like that I've seen. Like when I explained to a teacher, through sandstone, I, just felt this opening or whatnot, and they kind of equate it more of like being in a beautiful place rather than just how you lay that out and Master of You. And then really working with those elements as a habit. Yeah.
That makes so much sense that when I think back like through my own evolution and body of work, and where looking at, okay, we have ether, we have our space, our home, all of the environments that we're creating. We have our earth element of our physical body and all of the day-to-day habits that we have, and like, are they actually working for the future you want to experience, right? And then time or air element of like, how are we actually moving through the cycles of time, stages of our life, stages of the day, the seasons. And then water, what's our experience of flow, and also our experience of integrity, because water is doing both of these things. And then fire of like our true vision and how that aligns with time and flow, and how these things fit together. That, I think for me, because I've just been in it so long, I forget that this isn't just part of what, just like the typical like modern career woman who's really checked a lot of the boxes in her life, right? She's like, she has her degree of freedom, independence, wealth, agency, and her ability to create in her work and direct her life. That there are sometimes these gaps of, oh wait, like I don't even know how to explore that, or I don't know the limitations that I'm currently in until I'm on the other side of like the freedom that's beyond those particular limitations. So I'm glad to know that. It's actually really important for me to understand why what we're doing works. Because I'm so future focused that I often forget that, like, oh right, no, there's this system that we use.
Well, in your curation of sources of information, so it's not that it's just everything that you've experienced. You're pulling in from other people and like the best of the best. So I feel like I have to do less research. I don't have to do as much research myself. And also the other part that's interesting is it allows me to be curious. So you'll bring in a new tool or a new approach. So let's say we do some shadow work or even drawing things out. That's what I would think would be not typical if you're doing a mentoring program with somebody. They wouldn't say, here, let's draw this. You wouldn't know where that's coming from. But in this environment, it's, oh, okay, let's do that today. And it's, like you said, left-brained. I think that's the right way. It's to just think about it in a different way than I normally would. It's not so analytical and straightforward. You're coming at it from other perspectives.
Right, and we're using tools to process in real time and visual communication with ourselves, right? It's one of them. It's like, okay, let's use this thinking structure. Let's take a critical issue that's being, here's our vision. In light of a big enough vision, critical issues arise, right? We then develop strategy, right, for getting through critical issues to the vision. And then in the process of that, there's more critical issues that are more, contained, and then we apply a structure, right? And that's like more or less our methodology. And then within that structure is a lot of like visual communication where we're communicating with ourselves, right? And then also able to share that. I love that about visual communication, is that it's like the easiest way of communication to share, because we're literally looking at the same image, right? Of like, this is what we're agreeing an apple is, or whatnot. So as far as like your multi-dimensional life goals, I'm curious how those have even shifted from being in the club.
Yeah, so for me, over the last 2 years, my goal had been initially to be at a certain job title, but now I'm learning to realize, what is it about that I do that I really enjoy, and can I just extract as much from that as possible? So I'm finding that I'm not breezing through in my everyday work life. I get to enjoy those moments working with people, talking to them about certain topics, and so it's more pleasant, and it's not just hurry up and go. It's and so having that presence there, and then also it's because I'm going slower, so to speak, in my work life, then that is highlighting like, oh, my home life is good too, and so I can make those moments more meaningful too.
Yeah, what I've seen in you is this developing out of like, I do this into, wow, there's actually leadership opportunity, like curiosity around your skill set, chemical engineering, right? And how that's going into leadership opportunities that are more like people skill driven, and seeing how that's evolving your personality.
It's more transferable, and it's really exciting because it goes back to when you're going in this culture of you go to school, get your job, and then you continue to excel at that, and then nothing else is mentioned about your other facets of life, your home life, yourself, your relationship to your family. It's just helping bring it all together in this approach, and seeing how everything does fit.
So you don't have to silo these parts of yourself. Instead, it's actually integrating, and the skill sets are increasingly integrative. So leadership at home, leadership, whether it's parenting, spouse, family vision, work, promotion, or next level leadership.
Exactly.
Cool. And what about you, Yael? Like, how have your goals changed from being in the club, or refined, or it's been a ride.
I think when I went into 2025, my goal was to be unrecognizable in a year, and I'm halfway through, and I was just so thought I was on this growth path in terms of just professional development, leveraging the club for that. And then I came across a health crisis, and the club really helped me stronger, and really using crisis as transformation. And like normal culture will be like shy away from that, and so that's been really the wisdom and the goal for me. Has been the somatic trainings have been so powerful, and then Valerie's trainings in the Ayurvedic heal sessions have been just so great, and it's every week, and so it's just being held through a really challenging time, and then shifting, knowing when to shift back into like more of the growth path, and how to balance it all.
It's so important, right? Because if we're on a depth journey, and usually healing crises or any kind of crises, and I love the definition of crises as like this crossroads, right? Where there's this like crises, crossroads, where there's this like, what is the cross? Like, what are we crossing? What is the threshold?
Yeah.
Right? And then how are we supported and navigated, even though there is, in a depth journey, there are, I would say, like territory we have to go alone. But if we're going alone with the map and with the community knowing that that's what we're in, and with the support, right? Because it's like no one can really go on your healing journey for you, right? It's like no one can really heal you. It's an inside job. But having healers around,
oh my goodness, yeah,
right? And just being invited into like, this isn't wrong, this isn't bad. There's no rushing through there's no rushing through crises.
Yeah.
It's more of that, we've got you, and how that invitation into the process. Whereas I feel like culture tries to get you through it faster, or have someone else fix it for you. And that creates a lot of dislocation.
Yeah, I think I had 2 surgeries within 6 weeks, and there was nowhere in there that was just the mechanics of it. And then the club really was where I built resilience, and like building it every day, and tools around that. Yeah, I'll be forever grateful.
Oh, and we are too, for being able to witness you through that, because that's another part of our process. Is there's so much intimacy and vulnerability within the club, so that we can learn from each other. And I try to. This is Indy, who's doing the grocery shopping for our club retreat. I do need to pause
so you can. Oh.
Okay, so part of being in the depth path is that we're open to it, right? Instead of trying to rush through it, we're actually allowing the slowing down to what's trying to be revealed, right? We have this understanding that in order to grow, like I use that quote all the time from Carl Jung, no tree can extend to heaven whose roots don't reach to hell. So we're not trying to deny, we're actually just in it together, and sympathetic and empathetic to when someone is in a crisis within the club, instead of that being wrong or bad. It's like that's the path, that is like the quickest path of growth, is to really deal with the shit that comes up, the unexpected, the hard things, the challenges, the crises. So I really appreciate you being in that journey with us and going through that. So the other thing that we find is this shared language, right? Where we're using this ancient wisdom language from yoga and Ayurveda, and we use words from other traditions as well, coupled with these modern structures, whether it's coming from design thinking or liberating structures, or just structures that we're picking up along the way that are really helpful in how businesses reach goals, like SWOTs or other impact filters, like just different ways of taking our goal, our multidimensional life goals, and using these both ancient wisdom structures that have a lot more subtle body language and subtle connective awareness from Eastern medicine with these like modern Western business tools. And it seems like in that, the community right then that we're in, it's like we're already attracting people who are more driven and into holistic thinking. And then we're having a shared language. So yeah, talk a little bit about then what is it like to be in communication or grow relationships within the community having that shared language?
I found it really helpful. In the last year and a half, I felt like I had some blockages in terms of like what is my critical issue? Where do I want to go? And by being in community with people, sharing their issues, it's not that I'm copying what they're doing, and it's more or less trying to understand how do they see something as a critical issue, and am I downgrading or downplaying what I'm seeing? And it's like, oh, well, actually that is a critical issue. So for me, it's helped bring that awareness and just that language itself of like, oh, okay, this is important, and I can move forward with it if I choose.
Yeah. What about for you, Yael?
One of the things I find so fascinating is how you use the SWOT and bridge the ancient and modern. And I've seen you do it so many times, and then when you just hit that wisdom piece, I'm like, how did she do it? And it's really the abhyasa, right? The repetition. And so when you helped me right after my second surgery and I was just discombobulated, and we've all done them and we all know how to do them, but when it gets personal, I feel is where the blinders come on. And so that was so helpful, and then we refined it, right, a month later. And it's just, I mean, it's hilarious to have a SWOT and use all this Ayurvedic stuff, and it works. And the same thing that I did with, so like what I was talking about with the elements, I used the Gantt chart. And so I started in January, and here we are in July. And I have 6 months of these Gants of the elements, and then how it doesn't feel like work, right? I can use these structures and then using color and just different pictures or whatever that just bring in that felt sense of when I don't have the words. And so that's just been really where the juice is for me. And a big part of that is you have to make the investment, right? So I spent a whole weekend in January. I wasn't out mountain biking in Sedona. And I really invested in it, and that structure has carried me for the last 6 months, and now it's just grown and compounded. So you got to show up too.
Yeah, you got to show up.
And when we have that shared structure and language, then that makes it easy for someone like myself to be like, oh, hey, can you help me with this? And, just talk to other members who I feel either high trust in or relatable. We can then help solve each other's problems and take it to that next level. So then when we do meet as a larger group, it's more meaningful, and rather than just being at the basic level of, let's say, the structure itself and the mechanics of it, we can have it be more intentional.
Yeah. And seeing other people, it's like there's this insight, right, of like seeing other people grow and how they're moving through critical issues with the structures, and then seeing the evidence, like the results, right, the evidence-based success, where you're like, oh wow, cool, that really worked for you doing that. And then everyone's got their own various crises, right? So a lot of times in the process of someone going from like they're interested, they love what we do, or they love how I speak about certain things, and they're curious, and then they have a block around, but I just want to work with you one-on-one. And my response to that is like, I don't work with anyone one-on-one, because one-on-one is not effective. There's so much in our collective intelligence that to not be able to leverage that would disadvantage the person that just wants that one-on-one. So yeah, what is the experience of collective intelligence and these tools of activating collective intelligence, whether it's, in the club itself with me, or, in different relationships that you're in, or business, teams, etc.
Well, I find in our calls, let's say there's 10 people on a call, and we each have our own scenarios or crises where we're at. In a way, it's like I'm having 10 one-on-ones with you, because I get to see how each of those play out, even though I have my specific one. But then if something does come up, I'm like, oh, now I can either think through that, and does that apply to me, or do I talk to that person and see what did they learn from that, and and build that deep bond and friendship, and just have a more thoughtful approach on like how to resolve the issues that do come up. And so, and it's multi-perspective too, because they may see something that you don't, and that's not that it's a bad thing, but it's we can just help support each other and take those blinders off.
Yeah. Just thinking of examples of that as you were saying that. What about you, Yael, as far as the shared language and activating collaborative intelligence?
Yeah, I think I always really wanted just one-on-one and thought that was like the way. And I've really learned, there's several meetings that we had where people say, wow, I just got so much off of your example, and it's, you build this kind of momentum together. Yeah. And then it's really that sense of just lifting each other up and being witnessed too. It's not something, there is a lot of potency to that.
Where we're thanked for being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And being coachable, right? And I'm always curious too. It's not like I have the answers. It's more of like I am, a member through a process and see what emerges, right? It's to me so much more about what's happening because the group has attention, and that field of attention has a potency that can't be there in a one-on-one. Like you don't have the potency of attention of multiple human beings who are all leaning in, like curious about like, where's this going?
And I would say, but we still get plenty of one-on-one with laser coaching, right?
Yes.
And so it's like, I feel like I've gotten as much one-on-one time with you as I've needed this year. Yeah. And just in a group setting, so.
That's great to hear. I like that too. So one of the other things that I have found, like I've just had I've had a life where I've had a lot of ambition, and in that I'm also a risk taker, and my husband he also has a certain amount of like risk tolerance. We both have a lot of risk tolerance, and so we've been able to, and I'm a futurist. So all those things have caused me to be, I'd say successful in the financial, investment, real estate, like domains, business, like all of these various domains that I find are helpful then when someone has a particular issue, whether it's like finance or investing or real estate or small business, etc. So I'm just kind of curious, like how does that play out, hearing some people that have, within the club that have different goals around those avenues, because we've talked about health, we've talked about career, and then we can also talk about this in terms of relationship. But yeah, I'm just curious in terms of like that sort of more in the real world lifestyle design, future design of how you want to live your life and what that manifests as materially. Unique to you, and how is that relevant or not? Yeah, not a clear question.
I find that, like, if we were to talk about like finance or like small business, like as a topic, what I like is it brings up conversation that I might not have in my own circle of friends or people in my either area or in my family setting. And so that's what I like, is it brings up options of like, oh, this is something I should consider, or just like you might see in the paper, consider having a will. And then when you hear people talking about that, oh, this is why it's important, if you don't have that positive reinforcement. And so that's what it brings to me.
Yeah, cool.
I think just like the different personality test and just the rich library, like, right, we were not out there trying to figure it out. And so taking the wealth dynamics was so eye-opening. And then I can talk to you, and then...
are you a mechanic?
Lord mechanic.
Yeah. Oh, right. You guys both have like that systems thinking.
And then you learn more about yourself and how to position better and where are my strengths and weaknesses. And it's like validating in a way that goes, and then you can just align and just more efficiently, right?
Right, because who you are and how that fits in like a greater whole of an organization, right? And like, this is the importance of being a mechanic lord, right? It's a very specific avatar type.
Yeah, and so then I was like, well, I know I'm in the right profession and the way that I use my mind and whatnot, and so, but then what else? And then it just gives you the opportunity to just go from the jumping board there.
But it makes it easier to know not who you should pair up with, but who would be a good person to pair up with. Because if I want like-minded perspective, being a Lord trader, accumulator in my wealth dynamic, I can talk to Yael and know that, okay, my perspective is valid. I don't know if there's a better word for that, but then if I wanted a different perspective, someone who has more of a support role or creative role, I can recognize that they're going to be different, show up differently, and then I can share with them and get the feedback that I'm looking for. So rather than it feeling like no one understands me, it's more, it's creating that container.
Yeah. So you're getting, it's not like right, wrong, depending who you're talking to. It's like this multidimensional approach. Like if I want that perspective, then I should go to that person that is seated in that part of the arena and see how they're seeing this as just another data point, right?
And I think it was helpful to see how all of those roles are important in terms of building a team, right? And then building a family, or just anywhere in your life it fits in.
Yeah, right? Like we don't need to be the same, right? Like who are you? And wow, that's cool. Like your perspective is adding to mine.
And it gives me language, like I need support. So I will seek out a person who is really good at giving support too.
Yeah.
So ultimately it just translates into more flow in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And the articulation of strengths, right? Where we know our own strengths and can articulate it. And when someone else articulates their strength, it can actually land in us. Of like, oh, now you're a resource for me when I need, for example, in another personality test that we use, Gallup Strengths, my husband's really high in responsibility, which means I don't need to be as high. I can be a little bit more in my like creative futurism, and he can show up like responsible to own to actually take on the ownership of the things that need to be stabilized. And without that kind of language, right, it's just like, oh, that person's kind of that way, but if we can't articulate it, we might not be able to internalize it or leverage that for the future. So yeah, one other I'd say like interesting perspective that I'm curious with this whole sacred ambition part of what we do is that like we are ambitious as individuals, and often in the sort of modern education workplace structure, we're really, like corporations leverage individuals, but for some of us who are in family or friend groups where we can notice that there's structures that we can leverage within. And I'll use my example of like my family is incorporated. So like me and Indy and Winston are incorporated, so we're able to leverage just living together, spending a lot of time together with like vision, life goals, and then apply these structures and our each unique personalities and wealth dynamics into the mix of all that, right? And to me, there's actually a great book, Mentoring Millions, where the author of that book also did that, incorporated his family, and was a mentor to millions, is what it's called. And it's like this whole thing that we might not be leveraging what we want to leverage for our unique multidimensional life goals, or how we're uniquely defining success, whether we're living as an individual or we're in a family structure. So I'm just kind of curious how that has landed, like just even being part of those conversations and seeing maybe different perspectives. I mean, you're a mom, so has it changed your thinking a bit? Not that like you have to do it, but more of like outside the box thinking.
Yeah, so yes. So yes, it's having this type of setup of being in the club and then investing in myself. It's helped me to not, I don't want to say raise my child in an alternative way, but I know I don't have to follow that script. That may be like what my mom had followed or what her mom, because that's just what was common. Yeah. And so in a way I have just this more openness of what's even possible. And then what I've personally noticed over the last several years is, how I'm reparenting myself, and I'm noticing how it's working with my son, because he is just a younger version of, not me, but he's just a younger version of an adult, and has these needs, and so it just makes it just less restrictive.
Right. And, it's like there's a data, like I'm the data point who's way out here. Yeah. Right. Like here's the median, here's the center, and then I'm way on this outside, right?
And it's less pressure and expectation. I think that's where I'm going, is I don't have this expectation of I need to do all these things, right? Because I know what the general outcome needs to be, and directionally, and if I can keep making those changes or other, like, using my parenting skills, then I know he's going to be successful. I don't have to, let's say, sign up and, bring food to the sports games or something like that.
Right,
Like,
fit in the boxes kind of thing.
Right, and I can make those decisions in those moments if I need to, or in advance, and say, this is the type of person I'm going to be because now I know myself more.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And I'm curious for you, like just being in, community with freedom lifestyle, right? And your unique life goals, right? And how just being part of a conversation where it's not like there needs to be this is how we do things, right? But just more of like, we're so curious about like, what are your unique, like how are you moving into your own lifestyle design as a like mid-career professional who's already successful, who already has what she needs, right? And then it's like, where is it going in a way that you're feeling I would say the support of open thinking?
Yeah, I think in just thinking big and dreaming, that I just reach kind of a ceiling pretty quickly. And so having, calls and really working through those types of things, and then like there'll be a term or something in a call, and then I'll just reflect on that, and it's just opening that up, and you just need to give it time.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and really in support and nourishment. And so I feel like that's where I've just gained all the wisdom and the tools to get there. And I'm looking forward to this weekend, and and just those kind of when we do the more concentrated sessions, and then in between we've got so just
like the structure of having like our 2-day offsites together, online offsites.
Yeah.
Right, where we're really doing a deep dive into the next season, and then having the regular check-ins and critical issue sessions.
Yeah, and kind of like investing in ourselves, right? And showing up for those 2 days. And
Yeah, so let's just end with talking a little bit about Sacred Ambition, because we have the Sacred Ambition assessment, and then people who are interested in being in Club Hero can have a conversation with me around like, what is your sacred ambition? Like, and is it worth investing in? So how do you guys feel about, or gals feel about, your ambition, your personal ambitions? Because we all have ambition, and I find a lot of, from like my more yoga, new age community, there's a lot of like, it's the word success and ambition, and it's more just because, in my opinion, they're like looking at more of like a culturally endorsed version of that, rather than, no, it's like it's unique to you. Like it has to be defined by you in this phase and stage of your life. So I'm just kind of curious, how do you relate to your own ambition as sacred from being in Club Hero?
I feel like just you putting that word sacred with ambition just opens up a different channel, right? Because usually, like, if I'm just ambitious, it's all about going to the right schools and just doing the checking the things off the list. And then it kind of blinds some of that richness.
Say that again.
And so just joining the two words together, sacred and ambition, I can access a different place.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's more black and white, like, oh, this is your goal, in a way of this is your destination.
And it's like someone else's definition. You just take ambition, it's like culturally defined, right? And now this is like, oh wait, no,
personalized.
And because finding it, right, it's not on the surface, it takes those repetitions. And so really finding what is sacred to me. And when you're just going through life every day, you don't have the time, or you're not putting the time into it. So having the structure has been really big.
I love that. And that like process of, it's almost like excavating, right? Of like really digging, especially however many sort of like culturally saturated layers we have to get through. And it's like, wait, what? And I love that idea of beginner's mind or questioning, like that's what we're inviting, is the inquiry process.
And I love that we can start with where we are, because I remember I wanted to, just see what could I do in a year. And now I'm invested to the point where it's like, okay, what is my 10-year vision? What do I really want that to look like? And so for me, I feel like I'm getting closer to what that can look like because of this refinement and going through it and continually updating our structures and what we have over the different seasons and taking into account the different scenarios that might come up and decisions we might have to make at that time too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that it's like that zoning in when you join, that it's like all kind of up close, and then as you get grounded, work through a few of the layers, that it's like, wow, the vision starts to open up, the timeline starts to open up, and when time's on our side, then like, wow, it's a much bigger vision. Well, I just want to appreciate both of you, because there's, for me, as someone who creates curriculum and creates systems, like to have people that actually can just meet me right at that level of creation for utility and put it into practice and like test it out, like how does it work, and then to see what's happening to the members in Club Hero, especially as we're getting way better at finding these mid-career women who are professionals and who have a lot of great skills that they're bringing to the table, and organization, and a certain level of just like IQ and being able to apply teachings in real time and bringing yourselves into the process has just been really rewarding for me.
Thank you for helping us achieve our sacred ambitions. It's really exciting to just feel that we're just getting this bigger picture, and it's not at the end of our life. We're not looking back with regret. We can actually move forward with that intentionality.
The redirection you didn't know you needed.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that all? Yeah, it's like, it's only when we're on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Awesome.